welcome back to Cast Me to Hell with me, Seb.
And me, Robbie.
And this week we return to our creature feature season and with another shark movie in Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, we are going to get our jaws around this one. I told you, I'm saying it every time. Because it fits every single one. Jaws, it works the most. But by now, people are lulled into me saying it, you know?
That hilarious tidbit. If you lolled the first time, it'll happen every time.
Well, every animal has jaws.
Gets funny on repeat.
It does. And it's topical because every animal has jaws.
Yeah.
Well, most animals, not all. Slugs.
Send us in all of your non-jaw creatures and we'll review them for you.
Your non-jaw creature feature film. Slugs.
Yes.
That's the first one that comes to mind.
I've got none more.
There was some
I'm sure there's one about flies.
Yeah. There was one called
The Fly.
I'm sure The Fly. Funnily enough.
That one about flies.
There was one called Cantazuma or something like that, which was about fire ants. And I remember watching it on ITV, maybe in 1998, and thinking, "Oh, this is fucking amazing! It's terrifying." I rewatched it back; it was dog shit.
I'm sure it was.
Montezuma, I think it's called.
I'm sure by this point there has probably been a horror film made of just about any animal you can ever think of, including those without jaws out there. If you any worms, yeah, probably. Yeah. The butterfly, yeah.
There probably is, and if not,
just that. Sci-Fi Channel lived off of these for a long time. What's the next creature we can get? They had to start making them all. They went through them all, and then they had to start doing zombievers to be like, we've done a beaver film, but have we done zombies?
Have we done undead beavers? Yeah. Have we done ghost animals? That's even scarier.
They got to Sharknado, so you know what I mean.
This film absolutely fucks. I will preface it by saying I loved this film when it came out. It was, interestingly enough, I remember yet again renting it from Blockbusters and watching it with my family and thinking it was fucking class. And then, do you remember when Love Film kind of first came out? And you could get DVDs, but they also, when they just started doing a streaming service, they had very limited films on there. Deep Blue Sea was one of those films. And I watched it about 3 times on there. It's fucking banging, and it's always... It is films I just love. It is
a very entertaining shark movie. It probably is up there, it's not up there with Jaws because it's a very different way. It's not as well made or as well structured or as things like that. But in terms of just pure entertainment, it is probably the best out apart from Jaws in terms of a shark movie.
Probably.
You've got Jaws in terms of that, which is very entertaining, an amazing film, and then you've got Deep Blue Sea, which is everyone. There are other shark movies out there. I've rarely found many that I've ever loved. Not a big fan of the whole open water style ones and things like that.
No, or me.
We did one recently, Dangerous Animals, with Jared Courtney, which was a very good shark movie. But it wasn't purely just because of the shark, really.
A different take.
And this one is entertaining, but this one is the one that is again, you've got that early 2000s, this one?
I think it's 1999.
Oh yeah, it's right at the end of the 99. That's
Robbie Williams was about to release Millennium. Everybody was hyped. I remember my class, we all got cups that said the Millennium on it.
Everyone was ready to go to the Millennium Stadium, to go into the Dome, the Millennium Dome, to see a bunch of science things just packed into a building. It was generally considered to be okay.
We were all going to die for Y2K.
Yeah.
So it was we're going to die.
Out.
We have to rewatch Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah.
Let's hope it's out of VHS now.
It was 1999. It was the big old year for a lot of these ones. You had The Matrix.
Yes.
You had Saving Private Ryan. Many of those kind of classics, and Deep Blue Sea.
Also part to Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah. The best film of 1999.
It's fine. Before we get into it, I will remind you to make sure that you've hit that subscribe button and to leave us a lovely review. All of these films just terrify me. And I think it's because I have this weird thing about water, and it just like, it just scares me so much. Even now, like when I rewatch this film, and you get the opening where like the great white attacks that couple on the boat.
Yeah.
I can't watch anything like that. It just still shits me up. And there's so many scenes of this, even when I know it's like a ridiculous film. I know it is.
So when you go to Cyprus on holiday, do you go in the water?
Yes.
And every time you're like, the shark is going to bite my dick.
I don't go so far. I don't go really far into it.
Because in Cyprus you have actually got much more of a chance of seeing
much more of a chance.
Yeah.
And before we've gone, I've watched Deep Blue Sea
in fact,
and Jaws.
When I went there for your wedding, me and Charlotte almost got in a situation where Charlotte was 100% sure she was going to die. I told you about the jet ski.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that. But that was a literal moment of like, fuck, I didn't actually, until I was in the water, I didn't actually think about what could be in this water.
Yeah.
Because we had driven far out into the water. We had come off of our jet ski. It seemed like it's the perfect setup for some death in a horror movie. We were both thrown into the water, both there, like, fucking hell. And then suddenly like, oh crap, the jet ski's floating away from us over there, right, we've got to get you over to the jet ski. And it's like, all it needed was one shark to be like, alright mate.
Yeah. And Anna literally today was like, why don't we go onto the jet skis?
Yeah.
So now I'm just like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
No.
No. I mean it was great fun, and it was absolutely mad, but it was still it was a very enjoyable weekend.
Yeah.
You also got married.
Yeah. Not quite as good as the near-death shark
experience. But but all I thought of that, I remember being like, it's fine, like not being bothered about being in the water and stuff like that. I didn't go in the water before, really barely before that point. But I just remember them being in the water, and once I was in, and once I was basically, at first I was like, crap, like, and suddenly when me and Charlotte were in the water, I was like, oh fuck. Not only are we in the water, we could drown, but suddenly I was like, fuck, what the fuck could be in this water? My brain went to that. Like, I think everyone says, like, and this as well, in any shark movie, but, again, like, things like Jaws are so fucked up in the giant generation of the amount of, like, levels that dropped from people going to, like, the sea and stuff. But they always do. People are generally terrified of the seas for many reasons. It's not just sharks. There are many reasons to be terrified.
But it's mostly sharks.
Yeah, it's mostly sharks, or, being dragged to jagged rocks or things like that,
The other
or
night,
drowning.
I was lying in bed and I remembered the ending of Dangerous Animals, and I was like, fuck. And I had to put my feet up because I don't know what it is. I'm just like, well, obviously now I'm going to be in the sea and the shark's going to eat my legs. Even though there's no fucking sea near us. We're a distance from the beach.
We're a fair distance from coastal.
Yeah, it's just in there,
We have a river.
We have a river shark.
Yeah, a river
the famous great white shark.
River shark.
The river shark.
That you would be able to see coming from a mile away.
That would get me on dry land,
Yeah.
We do have a little brook next to us that does flood.
Yeah. Just remember this: it can still just pop its head up and bite your dick off. While you were shitting in our local rivers.
That's I'm shitting.
Come to England and have a piss and a shit in our local rivers. That's how we do it.
That's how we do it. The water companies are doing it. Why can't we? I pay my council tax and water bill. I should be able to hang my bare ass into a river and shit.
The water bill is going up, so to save money on our daily water supply, so that way you don't have to flush.
Yeah, I bathe at the same time as well.
You just watch it float away.
Yeah.
Like Winnie the Pooh, he does poo sticks.
Yeah.
You do literal poo.
Yeah, just let it go. Just let it. We don't need to worry about it. That's the next time's problem. But yeah, the opening is just, it still gets me, and I think that the physical sharks that they do use look so great. They look fucking.
Yeah, I mean, the designs on the sharks. I mean, this is one of the cool things with this film, and I think I mentioned on our last one we were doing Lake Placid that one of the things for that director, Steve Miner, was for it to be more that you could like kind of have a real clear view. You could actually see this creature and the design. And one of the things that we were positive about the film was the design of the creature. And Renny Harlin, the director of this one, his was that Jaws had done the whole hidden, and that anyone can watch like Shark Week It's a huge thing in America. Shark Week, the whole anyone can see sharks anywhere. We know what a shark looks like. We know what it is. You know what I mean? Things that weren't such commonly recognised in the 70s are things now that's like everyone's seen Jaws. Everyone's done that. Everyone loves Shark Week. Everyone knows about them. By hiding the shark, it's no longer going to be effective, and we need to steer away from how can we not do Jaws? How can we not? And he basically, it does. The film does go like, what could be the anti-Jaws? Almost, you know what I mean? Like of major technology and all of these kind of things, and a hidden like area and a spaced off place, and it's not a town or a village that needs to be protected. It's secluded and it's all contained. But that's what makes it more like a haunted house in its own way, in its version, its alien, its thing, contain this to that area. But the design of the creatures, like I think,
well, the mako sharks, aren't they?
Yeah,
which gives it, as we've all seen the kind of great whites, but this, I think mako sharks are kind of like darker.
Yeah,
which I think gives it, and I think the main one is maybe like a tiger shark. I'm not too sure, but they look kind of much more distinctive.
Yeah, and I love the way that, because there's a range here where they've used like animatronics on more of the like the water sets. I think they used more animatronics than the actual made ones. Yes, there is obviously CGI. The CGI is still 1999, and it is noticeable CGI because I think because the animatronics are so good. But the other thing is, another thing that he did was he had the actual actors go and do actual stuff with real sharks.
Yeah.
So that was another thing. Renny Harlin said that one of the things he wanted was to have as much real shark, which was one of the things actually, as we mentioned, Dangerous Animals. That was one of those things that we said where that has a lot of shots of actual just real sharks in the ocean, where they've just gone and filmed real sharks in the ocean doing stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what added an effect to kind of make you feel like you really get an idea of what they're like and what they look like and things like that. And that's something that he's done here, is that he's mixed in that mixture of real things. The only area that could be downplayed on that is the fact that sadly that when you see both a really realistic looking animatronic and a really amazing like real footage, is that when you see the few, it's not actually as overly done luckily, but when you do get one scene when it really follows like CGI sharks through like a tunnel and stuff like that, it's the only one occasion that makes you kind of be like, yeah. I mean, luckily because of the film, you're kind of like, I'm here to have fun with it, kind of thing. So it's kind of fun, but that's it's not a CGI that's amazingly stood up. Luckily, the sharks are darker, like you just said. So that helps normally with CGI for it to be darker scenes, so it doesn't quite like stand out as much as if you're doing like a daytime. Here's a shark. Yeah,
and I also feel like the setup is kind of like so ridiculous that you just you take your brain out and you watch it. Jaws is a very serious film, Lake Placid, like we said, very tonally kind of all over the place. This one, it plays it kind of straight, but from the start it's like we're gonna cure Alzheimer's by making sharks' brains bigger, because sharks can heal. Apparently their brains can heal themselves.
Well, I think isn't the bigger part that's the twist though, isn't it, that they've been doing it? That's not till they don't actually say it until later, because they're trying to make him believe.
Well, they're trying to extract something from its brain, aren't they?
So they're trying to make them believe that it's just sharks that they've naturally done, haven't they? Like, because that's kind of meant to be I thought that this was revealed way earlier in the film, but it's actually till majority of them are all gone that they actually finally reveal that she and Stellan Skarsgård's character were actually had increased the size of the brains, so that's how they managed to get the fluid kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they realised later that that's actually how they made these, like, you guys made them super intelligent, didn't you, kind of thing. Whereas earlier in the film, they're actually like, oh, no, these are completely natural things. We've just found that we can take it from this area with certain part, and they're bullshitting everyone.
Yeah, of course.
And just be like that. Like, we haven't super designed these. No, these are normal sharks,
Yeah, they're fight sharks.
That seem to be working in packs and hunting in a way that's unnatural, and seem to be following Thomas Jane under the water so clearly that it's like, you worked that out, and you worked out how to get through that, didn't you? You worked out how to open.
Sharks.
Did you do that? Sharks are very intelligent creatures.
Where the CCTV cameras.
It's that moment of like, in one way, your brain goes, well, I guess using animal testing for Alzheimer's, it's more of the super brain, like hunting that then becomes a bit like, okay. But it's almost on that sci-fi level that you're enough that you can be like, oh, okay. yeah, okay.
Well, that's it. You just kind of, I think you always have to like suspend disbelief with films.
Yeah.
So you're just like, all right, this is the setup. I'll go with it. You
but
know?
What I did forget about this film is actually how, you see, like you said about the opening boat scene, I wasn't actually the biggest fan of the opening boat
Oh, really?
scene.
Okay.
Only because it felt very generic, a bunch of people on a boat, things like that. And I also didn't feel like it showed off enough that these are super intelligent. They're brutal, the way they burst through the boat, but I didn't get the whole super intelligent. So when it explains in the next scene that that they're one of the ones that escaped, I was like,
yeah,
okay, well, that makes sense of how they've come out here, kind of thing. But that felt much more like a wink wink to something like Jaws kind of thing. So I was like,
yeah, I think that's the idea, isn't it?
yeah. So it was alright, but I wasn't like overly blown away by it, kind of thing. But what I do like is the fact that it quickly goes to the office with Samuel Jackson's character, where they're like, we financially we need to come and observe this kind of thing. Well, she talks them into it, the old gift of the gab. But once they actually get there, I quite like the fact, like, especially with, say, Samuel Jackson's character, of how breezy it is. Like, the introduction feels very natural.
Well, the
way they go around.
The cast is good.
It is a stacked cast.
We were saying you got old Thomas Jane, who's the kind of
reliable leading man. Underrated leading man, I would say.
The gruff kind of like ex-con shark handler.
Yeah.
Saffron Burrows, the head researcher, who's a bit of a bitch. Maybe she put her career first.
Yeah.
LL Cool J, who this is the 90s. You got to have like a rapper in your horror film.
Yeah.
So he's the chef who is also like religious because he has to be religious for some reason.
Yeah.
Jacqueline McKenzie.
I'm just like that. This big name, you're like, oh, the fuck this.
That's not as an insult to Jacqueline McKenzie. My thing was,
I assume that is the one who Stellan Skarsgård. This is where we're not using character names.
No,
again.
why would we?
We're just using actor names. But she's the one that's basically in love with Stellan Skarsgård.
She's the one who's in love with Stellan Skarsgård. But the reason why I paused,
who is one of the first characters we actually see in the film, because she's the one that introduces as they're going around. Like when she sees him get off the plane, and she's she's quite nice and like she's quite like a fun kind of character, because she's kind of the nice character. She's almost like the glue that's bringing them all together.
The reason why I froze this because I was wondering whether that was Ada Turturro, whether it was her.
Oh yeah,
in The Sopranos.
Ada Turturro is the
has
one,
a very small role.
Has a small role. She's the announcer on the contact the outside world.
But I was wondering
in the tower
whether that was her, because I never knew her name, but I've seen her in stuff. Your favourite actor, Michael Rappaport.
Yeah.
Obviously. Who we were debating his gingerness earlier. Yeah.
I believe he is a true ginger. I have not seen his penis, but
well, that's the the penis inspection. Stellan Skarsgård, who's a dog.
Who you're not going to tell us the film that Michael Rappaport.
So before we were going through the films that Michael Rappaport was in, and in what was it? A TV show. There was a film in 2015, and I said, "Oh, Michael Rappaport was in A Little Boy." And the film was called Little Boy, and he played James Busby. So that, just to clarify, that's what we meant.
Don't come for us, Michael Rappaport. We weren't saying you like little boys.
We were saying
you were in A Little Boy. The film. And then obviously you've got Mace Windu. Samuel L. Jackson. No purple lightsaber.
No purple lightsaber in this film at the moment.
Yeah,
it's a stacked cast.
It is a stacked cast. Little cast tidbit there. Samuel Jackson was offered to be in this film, but his character was made specifically for Samuel Jackson after he rejected the LL Cool J role. He was originally going to be the chef.
Well, I
feel like the chef would have been done. I feel like the chef may have ended up possibly. Well, in the original script, Samuel Jackson's character wasn't really part of it in the same way, and he didn't have the same big role. So I've got to imagine that the chef is actually, although he is kind of the side, like everyone else is together, and then we constantly get LL Cool J at the side.
Yeah,
he gets more than I think you remember. He is kind of like a main side story there.
He also survives.
Yeah, he does.
Which kind of makes...
He wasn't meant to survive either.
Ah, okay.
He was meant to die. Renny Harlin, the director, liked LL Cool J so much, but then he also apparently fought for LL Cool J to be in the film. He really liked the idea of like him bringing a different kind of, I don't know, flavour to the film, apparently. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
However, I can't remember what, but it had a similar kind of wording that he
wanted
used
him
to be like,
the rap. That's what it was. They were like, you'll do the credit rap, won't you? And he's like, I'm trying to get away from being a rap.
Well, they were like, Will Smith did Men in Black and Wild Wild West, and he made these two. We need a Will Smith type guy to do a rap for this film, because it will be just as big as...
Of course.
We'll go into the Wild Wild West.
Yeah. Deepest, bluest, my head is like a shark's fin. It's got to be just like the Men in Black thing, you know? Everybody's got to understand it.
It partially feels as if Renny Harlin was like, Will Smith's too big.
Will Smith's too big.
to do this film, but I want Will Smith.
Can he be Will Smith?
You are also a rapper who's done many songs. I don't think I can name a single.
Mama said knock you out.
No.
you would know
if I heard the song, I would probably know it.
You would. I'm not going to play it, but I don't
know how the audio would come out if you played it.
And we might get sued.
I'm sure. I have heard LL Cool. I actually had an LL Cool J album.
Nobody. He did kind of like a remix on that. I'm the best when it comes to making love all night. Throw your butterscotch body underneath the moonlight, something like that. I don't know why I know that opening, but that's the opening of the song.
I definitely have, because I'm certain I had an LL Cool J album from the early 2000s.
You've never heard it.
But I just mean I literally can't in my head. No song is coming into my head that's an LL Cool J song.
So I just told you the opening lyric of Ain't Nobody.
But he was big in his own right. And he went on to he starred in several, including the Halloween H2O by Steve Miner, the director of Lake Placid from our last one.
That was Lake Placid versus Anaconda. I was going to say, if that was Anaconda versus Deep Blue Sea.
I thought you were going to make a joke about Lake Placid versus LL Cool J's penis.
I don't know where
my brain went to Anaconda and you went there.
I don't know how that would work. A man cannot make love to a lake. No matter how big their penis, a man cannot make love to a body of water.
But he could to a giant crocodile.
He could to a giant crocodile, that is true. I mean,
forget about Deep Blue Sea. I'm now going to explain to you the plot for
We're just going to redo our Lake Placid episode.
Yeah.
And add in where we think Cool J could have made it better.
We should have done this film first. Then for that episode, we would have known how to make it better.
We would have with LL.
So yes, there you go. I gave you some tidbits about the fact that LL Cool J's role was originally different. Probably, I feel like maybe slightly larger or different. I can't imagine Samuel Jackson stepping into what the role is for LL Cool J.
No.
So I've got to imagine that in that version of the script, it was a different kind of role.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the role he was originally given. And then they decided when he didn't want to do that, they were like, we'll make you a role. And it's a good role. I really like Samuel Jackson.
That's great.
In this, I don't know. I feel like in the last decade, I've got so used to Samuel Jackson, basically Nick Fury, or doing films where he's basically just the dude that walks in and just goes off at people. Where it feels like his character from Pulp Fiction almost became like, oh, this is the character we want you to just keep doing in everything. Yeah. And in this film, he's not that kind of big, shouty, telling everyone off. He's quite actually chilled. Like, he's the executive that comes in, and normally that's such a square character. A character you expect to come in and be very, telling them what to do, really intrusive, telling them, I'm going to shut this down, and things like that. Which, in the first scene, is you maybe get the idea that that's what it could be.
But he plays a bit different.
Yeah, but once he gets there, he is very, just going, he's actually kind of, amazed by all of this, and he's actually quite intrigued, and he actually feels like he's actually helpful to everyone. When normally that character, that company character, is the, it's the Jurassic Park, he's a pain in the ass and now he's alerted us to the T-Rex and he's ran off to the toilet and now he's going to get eaten. That is almost the character kind of thing. Here, it's giving Samuel Jackson to character, but also not making him so much that he's Samuel Jackson that he takes all of the limelight away from everyone else.
And they also give him that backstory of having survived that avalanche.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it works so well is because we all expected Samuel Jackson to survive this film.
Yeah.
Because it's Samuel L. Jackson, he's the man. And then when he has that death, it was such like a big moment.
Yeah.
I remember everybody talking about it.
I forgot how good the avalanche story being
It's
kind
great.
of thrown in early on.
Yeah.
When he's talking to people like when they're having drinks for like the birthday party, when he's like telling people about that avalanche story, I forgot how much that improves his death scene.
Yeah.
To throw back because he's telling that story and that insightfulness, and he's suddenly giving this big impassioned like speech.
Yeah, and he tells it later again.
Yeah.
You know, and then the kind of like but before that, you know, it's nautical terms and it's a fucking underwater research facility. But between that hole that leads them down, I don't know how it all works. Very interesting. And before he gets eaten, which the CGI has aged quite badly, but it's so great, you know. And it's that.
For
thing
that one, it's so quick. It's not.
It's not massive, but it's that thing of. I remember learning about it in media when I was at school, and they're saying like, you know, when they center the shot and whatever's in the center, you know that something's coming. And they do it with Jason at the end of Friday the 13th. You know, she's just off the center so that when Jason bursts out, you see him.
Yeah.
And they do it with this. Like, he stood just to the side with it clearly behind him.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
Yeah.
You know? And
it's
I think
the way.
great.
It's the way in the middle of his speech it cuts off.
Yeah.
So it like cuts him off midway through his speech. I think just adds to it. It's not like he gets to finish it and go through that because he's given that. But it's the way that he is giving that big ass speech. But the main thing I always remember is because I remember. Whatever it was, video, DVD, I can't remember, I think it was probably DVD. But the trailer for this, I remember this being on so many films I watched where it was obviously released around the same time. So obviously back then you'd always get the trailers added on to the start before you had to like get to the menu of the film.
Oh,
or whatever.
yeah, I remember that.
You know, or whatever it was, or maybe it was video where you just had to get from like you either rewind or you just watch it for the millionth time. So back then you'd watch TV trailers a million times over.
Yeah.
People always pointed to this one because the trailer highly like implies his death in the trailer, but it's not actually. It's actually blended together too. So it has him stood there, but it then actually cuts to Michael Rappaport's death because. The shot doesn't do the big like twist round that it does with Michael Rappaport where it suddenly comes around and gets him.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, it, like obviously with his death, it pops up from the water, doesn't it? And pulls him into it, pulls him down. So they in the trailer they like blend together those two, so it kind of throws you off of what his death actually is, but it makes it look like that is Samuel L. Jackson's death, is in like he stood there and then the shark comes around and gets him. But they've cut together the two deaths.
Okay,
so I always remember that very purely because I was like, that's a really cool death. But I always remember it as in the shark, like as if they're in water and it floats up and comes to get him. As in, you know, the scene when the glass breaks. You know, amazing scene.
It's a great scene. The whole thing where it.
But I thought
bursts to life.
that was it.
Yeah,
I thought it was always the water flooded in and then it comes up and gets him because he gets under. But I was like, no one's ever underwater like that in that weird way that he would be. But that's the way my brain always remembers Samuel Jackson's death, is a mixture of his and Michael Rappaport's death blended together with that scene because it's all in the trailer. So my brain has just always remembered it out of order. So I was like, how is he going to get underwater to die? How is he going to be stood with no mask underwater to die? Because that's what my brain thought had to happen in that scene. But it's actually Michael Rappaport's.
And all of the deaths in the film are kind of really cool. Like I feel like
they're very varied.
They're very varied
for a shark movie.
Yeah, because you just get into that same thing of like, the shark just gobbles them.
Yeah.
And technically the shark does just gobble most of them. But the
set pieces.
The build up and the set pieces, you know, with Stellan Skarsgård, where, you know, he's kind of on the helicopter and it's kind of floating above, and I was like, the shark's got to jump up and grab him, but instead, you know,
that's what's implied as well, isn't it? Because they're literally, you're there like, he's fucking, why are we, like, he's dropping down and he's floating over the water, like, come on, he's going to get her.
And then it's so much worse because it just plunges into it. You feel so helpless.
That's it. That was one of those where I felt like this is so well done.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. The suspense that is given, like within this film, like the fact that it plays on your expectations so well. Like I was expecting it to jump up and just grab him, and therefore the helicopter was going to kind of get pulled down in that way, not for him accidentally to drop down and then. Even then, but then you're thinking, so now the shark's going to get him and we're going to just see him get ravaged under the water. No, it still doesn't. You know, this is the climactic, like, not in terms of like the, sorry, not
it's like the catalyst.
The catalyst that's the one I was going for, that sets off the whole chain reaction of everything in there. And what I really love is the fact that this is a high pressure on the sea thing. So if something like a huge explosion does happen, it's gonna cause a million effects. And I forgot that this sets up so much of the problems of where the whole place they're in. Like, I love the fact that it's not like just an explosion. Yeah. It's an explosion that sets off an entire chain reaction within the entire facility. Yeah. And it causes this major thing. But I love that bit when they're all stood there and you're almost as the person in there being like, you guys need to fucking go.
Fucking hustle.
Like, there's a fucking... It's the fact that they stand around so much. I was like, there's a fucking... Like, it's when Stellan Skarsgård then flies in and you have that moment of fuck. Like, it's the fact that he's not even dead. They haven't even eaten him. They've used him as a tool. And it's like, okay, that's really fucking cool. Yeah. And then there's also the moment you're like, why the fuck are any of you still stood there? There's not only that, but there's cracks in that glass, which is high pressure. You know, you guys should already be out this fucking door. It's just the fact they hang around, but not in like a completely dumb way. She's hanging around, you know, the kind of partner of Stubbs, and she's like kind of broken down. The other ones are starting to react to go, and they like have to kind of get her to move, kind of thing.
I mean, you would be freaked the fuck out if that just happened. You'd be like, oh fucking hell.
I mean, this film is made on a 60 million budget. I mean, I know, you know, again, tidbits. Titanic is a major reason why this film looked so good and was able to work so well. Okay. Because for Titanic, James Cameron built these huge water facilities, like sets, so that they could film underwater, they could film on water, you could build sets and stuff like that. You know, all those ones. So there was lots of things around the time with that, and there was another film called Waterworld with Kevin Costner, where all these kind of things were they were able to use bits of that and bits of like the stuff that James Cameron had used for Titanic. They were able to use those same facilities, which is how they were able to make amazing set pieces like this, because this is actual practical. Yeah. You know, you see it smash out, you see the water going around them. You know, it's an incredible kind of, like, the look of some of these water scenes in this film are so good. The way the facility looks at the beginning, where they're built an actual set, not a CGI set, fantastic. You know, on top of that water. For my last little one for now, there's the... So you know the scene, so when Stellan Skarsgård, when they get him out, they have to get him out, you know, he's had his arm bitten off, which again, really cool.
It looks great.
You know, the way it happens, in like, just the fact it's just sudden and his arm's just like gone like that, you're like, fucking hell. I love the way that, again, but they all seem very professional in the fact that they go straight into action, they go straight to that. It's not like just that is the thing that sets everything off. It's the fact that they're all like helping, even, again, what makes Samuel Jackson's character better. He jumps straight to action. He's not just there like fucking like some guy that's just there. He is actually one of the first ones to be like, fucking let's get this sorted. You know, maybe also because his money's on the line. But when they go up and they put him, they have to go out, and it's really like the storm's hitting, isn't it? Yeah. And they have to go out and get him onto the to lift him into the helicopter. There's a scene, the next scene, when they get onto the helicopter, as it goes away, they all get smashed into the side. That was real. Okay. So they fucked up on the effects at the time. They didn't have harnesses on. You see them get dragged around by the water into the side. Like one of them hits one side and one of them gets dragged to the other side on top of that thing when they're all stood there. Thomas Jane, again, the partner character, I think Samuel Jackson and Saffron Burrows. They get like completely whitewashed to the side, and that actually happened. So it wasn't meant to happen. The effect went off in a different way than it was meant to. They got hit by this huge ton of water that literally smashed them into the side.
Because it's loads of water, isn't it?
Yeah. So Samuel Jackson told the story about how they literally all got, and they were literally flung around. You know, this is something that was meant to be like film, like, and that was not meant to be. It wasn't even meant to be a set piece in the film. It was just meant to be the effects of the water that was meant to go off with the helicopter. So when the helicopter, you get a really cool shot of like the water on the bottom, like the storm hitting. Yeah. That was meant to be the shot. they weren't meant to be like thrown around like that, but they got caught in the effect. So yeah, no one was like badly harmed, luckily.
Yeah,
but it just like Samuel Jackson retold the story, and he was like, yeah, at the time it was fucking terrifying. But he said when he watched it in the cinema, apparently the premiere, he like literally laughed out loud because he thought it was fucking hilarious. He thought it was a great scene. It was like because they kept it in because he thought that they'd remove it because he thought, well, it couldn't look good, but it's such a cool scene.
Yeah.
Some of these things that have like happened but make it better, you know.
Yeah.
It's one of those things with shark films. Things go wrong, but somehow it makes it better.
and I think the use of like the animatronic sharks just adds a real good feeling to it, and you get quite a lot of sharks in it. I'm thinking like two moments that kind of spring to mind specifically for me is the partner's death, you know, Jacqueline Mackenzie, when they're trying to make their way out of this facility and they're climbing up the ladder and it's slowly starting to fill with water. Yeah. And you can hear the banging and that the sharks have gotten through. And, you know, the ladder kind of like tips and falls and she falls into the water. And then Thomas Jane, the hero that he is, like kind of goes to try and get her. And then she goes down and then she just kind of erupts out of the water in the mouth of this animatronic shark. And it looks so good. It looks so real. Yeah. And then it just takes her under. And then there's another time which got me, and that is when Saffron Burrows goes to get the research, and she is kind of walking, and you see a fin behind her, and it really slowly builds the tension. And she shits herself and she climbs up onto like a desk or something. Yeah. And the fin's approaching and you're like, oh fuck. And then it turns out that it's one of the, you know, props from the research stuff. Oh yeah. And then as she picks it up, the real shark bursts out. It's fucking.
Is that the one with the electricity? They have the kind of, well, I did say Alien was inspiration for this, and this is a very obviously like wink wink to Alien with the whole white, you know, white underwear, white kind of feel, you know, like Sigourney Weaver wears towards in that moment kind of thing. It's just that mirror, but so it's kind of like a clever, as in because she needs the rubber underneath her and at the same time they're like, we also get to see her basically almost naked.
You get to see her body.
You get to see her body, and she still gets to prove that she's clever. So this is a real win for women's rights.
Yeah, and they're like, oh no, it's an Alien homage. You have to do it.
Yeah, you
like Alien, don't you? And she's like, oh, it's okay. Well, you love it, so you've got to do it.
So you've got you've got the I really like the one with, and that uses a lot of the practical. I mean, that's the cool thing. For the most part, it's mainly able to use the practical effects kind of because a lot of it is closely shot, like the kitchen scene with LL Cool J. Yeah, you know, a lot of that with the shark moving towards or through. It's, you know, a real practical kind of shark that's moving through, that you get those bits when it pops up by the oven, you know. Yeah. The irony of the chef, as he says himself, that he's now going to be cooked in his own oven. You know, I really like that. It's a little bit, you know, the raptors in the kitchen in Jurassic Park. Thrown into, we're in the middle of water here. You know, and him trying to survive with his little parrot sidekick. Yeah. The fact that the parrot dies. That's the one character I was not expecting to die. The animal always survives somehow.
He usually doesn't.
Yeah. But then he eats his parrot. Gets gobbled up carrot, which is fine. I like the fact that it makes you assume that the parrot will just live. Like LL Cool J would probably die, but the parrot will
the parrot's fine.
Yeah. That scene when he has to literally break his way through the oven to get up to stop it and you get kind of cool practical effects of the shark kind of actually like popping its nose up towards the door and smashing into it and things like that. I like a lot of those. Like there's a lot of cool little scenes where you get them kind of like the fins going along in the background, or you can kind of see the effects. And we also get several scenes of like where they're basically just smashing through doors.
Yeah, and like you said, a lot of the times where they're kind of smashing through doors, or you see them move through when it's not practical. It does look a bit dated, but most of the stuff is practical. So I think
before that scene when they have to climb, you know, the scene when they have to climb up with the burning fire at the top and the water at the bottom. That's really suspenseful, really well done. You know, it has a death, and it's a sad death because she's quite a nice character. But yeah, it's before that when we get the whole where under the bottom you get to follow the shark as it goes through the door, goes back out into the water, and you get this moment of like where you get those sharks, and there's a bit earlier in the film when you get to see the two sharks interacting, and it's one of only two scenes which are like really heavy CGI, and early CGI where it's all a little bit too blocky and a little bit too off, and it just doesn't quite look real in the right way, and it looks too unnatural.
You get this weird like point of view shots as well, where they have like this weird effect around it.
Yeah, that tunnel bit is when you get that point of view but it's still point of view but CGI point of view, which is kind of weird. Where you feel like some of it you'll be like, I feel like this could have been done with just the camera.
It kind of reminds me of like at like bowling places or arcades, they always used to have those pots. And they were real expensive, and it was like a virtual ride through something.
Yeah, it's like that.
Kind of reminds me of that,
Yeah. It's one of those. It's just one of those things where it's at the time when they were flexing their muscles with the CGI monsters and stuff like that, and really beginning it. But it's also a time when it's like, sadly for a film like this, which was so practical, some of the CGI I'm sure is not nearly quite as noticeable, because I'm sure there was probably more bits used. But a lot of the CGI sadly doesn't actually add enough to the story that you're kind of like you're flexing your muscles, but at the same time you probably could have lived without a lot of this kind of stuff. It doesn't greatly add when you've got so many good real looking and you've got so many good animatronic parts. It's
great
like,
fins.
You don't necessarily, but I think it again maybe implies into his belief that he needed to show the shark more.
Yeah.
He needed to actually show them. He didn't want it to be Jaws where they're hidden. He wanted them to be very front and centre, so you see the shark quite a lot in the film, which is, which does work for this one when you're having so much kind of shark action.
But then there's moments where the shark's off screen, but you feel the presence.
Yeah.
So like the doors, you hear them banging when they're running past them, and it's kind of like it builds the tension, but you don't really have to show them. Whereas sometimes the door bursts open and then you get like this CGI shark coming in. It's kind of like that.
That's what I mean. It's one of those weird things where you can understand what he was trying to do to try and deviate from the Jaws thing. And it's funny how quite often the suspensefulness of the old Jaws, where basically when you're not showing him, or you're only showing a fin, or you're actually only showing it under the water, quite often ends up being some more of the actual real suspenseful scenes compared to when we actually see it.
Yeah,
like that's kind of not away from a couple of the animatronic ones, but again that's still very Jaws, where it was just like here's just the head opening around her, or here's that. It's not like full body. It's more of the pop-up scenes, which again are more.
We see a little bit of it.
It is normally the animatronic or those kind of scenes that actually are the scariest compared to any. The CGI ones aren't normally the scariest.
No, I think Michael Rappaport's death is CGI, isn't it?
Yeah,
because they go back into that room.
Yeah.
And then they try and do some shit. I don't know what they're trying to do. Reboot a system or divert something. And because we've already touched on Samuel Jackson's death, but I feel like his death is really quick. Like there's almost no suspense. They're in the room. Thomas Jane turns around, and the largest shark's there just fucking whips him off. It feels like
it has that big whip up, but it does slam him into the electric, so it gives an additional kind of violence to it, kind of thing. I think that's more. It's quick, but I think because so many of them have happened, so many of them had a bit more like build up and stuff like that. I think
maybe that's the intention.
I thought that one kind of worked purely because it's. I think from the character's perspective we've had quite a lot with his character where he's been really kind of that he doesn't want to die and things like this, but he still put himself forward to do this task to get that going again, because he's the one that's going to get it going. And it's the fact that the shark kind of comes in suddenly, intrusively, and fucks up what he's just done.
Yeah.
Because he slams him back into it. Like, it's literally... That's what I quite like about these, is that some of the deaths take a kind of... Not only just a detour, but they also kind of... are more violent than they maybe even needed to be, you know, or fuck with the food more than they need to, kind of thing. Because even when she was taken out of the water and like laid down, it still gives the idea of this like real violence where she's like fighting against it and like I don't want to die and like they're trying to fight against her, and then you get the kind of what always kind of is horrible is that kind of that blood moment when the blood comes back up and you're like, oh, it's like fucking like that, like that's how they've just died. You know what I mean? Like, it adds that horrible element. And with this one, it feels like they fuck with everyone. Like, they really play with it. If anything, probably Samuel Jackson gets the fastest.
Probably.
I think, where he actually looks like he just gets full-on munched.
Yeah.
Whereas Riker Rapport, although he gets really faster, he then gets electrocuted. And then it implies with this, and that is CGI. But then he kind of looks somewhat like he's still alive when his leg basically gets torn off and floats away. Yeah. Like, it's like a real, like, fuck.
I don't know. It always struck me as a slightly lackluster one.
Yeah. I think I always remember that, like, the shark just coming in there and goes suddenly, like, it, like, comes around him kind of thing. I don't know. I don't mind it, but then again, I think it's because I felt sorry, because I quite liked the character. I quite like all the characters here. That's the thing. I don't really dislike it. Even the literary, you know, Thomas Jane's there. He's the action heroes thing, but he has, you know, he's a likable kind of character. You know, he's the everyman in some ways. The guy that's like been down on his luck, and here he is, but he still fights for everyone. Yeah. And because he is, again, he's the guy that always jumps in there to help everyone, and he's trying so hard to save everyone. He is that character. You know what I mean? And he's enjoyable in that way, but Saffron Burrows' character is always she's the lover or hater character for a lot of people. There are people that feel that it goes both ways, and there are people that feel that her storyline. I mean, it's like she's a scientist, but it does lean, you know, quite into. It tries to give you an emotional resonance with her character by the whole, you know, that she's doing all of this stuff, but she's talking about the fact that she spent years ravaged by Alzheimer's through her father. Yeah. And I feel like it does. I feel like it does an okay job of actually trying to make her be one. It's like she's gone to such lengths because she's technically is trying to save, you know, millions of people. Yeah. She's not doing it for some nefarious. You know, she's fucking with the animals, but which is bad. And she's doing it in ways that are not allowed to be done, so she fucks with that. That's how she creates the monster. Yeah. She makes the monster, so that's a completely understandable reason why, you know, normally the person who makes the monster is the person who demise happens at the hands of the monster. But at the same time, it's like they do try and humanize it by she's doing it for a reason, like a good reason. You know, she is trying to do this even though she's breaking these rules, but she's not necessarily doing it in a hugely like I'm really torturing these things, or I'm really, you know, it doesn't imply any of that stuff. It implies that she's tried to do it as ethically as she could, but in order to make it work, she couldn't do that part ethically, kind of thing. So she had to, her and Stellan Skarsgård had to go around the lines, kind of thing. And then they try to redeem her by having her help as the film goes along. So they try to, you know, make her do more things that can kind of save a day, or making her clever by outsmarting the sharks and things like that. Those kind of moments. But there are people that can't help but feel like she's the bitch character.
Well, originally she was supposed to survive, wasn't she? Yeah. And then the test screening, or the test screening, she's dog shit. Yeah. Kill her. So they obviously killed her. But I wonder how that ending would have originally gone. Because I like the... There is, like, that. There are people, Renny Harlin and Thomas Jane and people, and Saffron Burrows and people like, I've literally, like, been, like, released that. Because they never released it. It's weird. Really interested to see. Yeah, it was weird because they fully filmed it. It was all done. It was completed. Yeah. And most studios normally release the deleted scene, an alternate version, or an alternate ending. Yeah. And it was a very big time for DVDs, alternate endings, things like that. It was a very common, like, come and buy these because we've got extra features for you, you know. So that was a huge part, but they never released it. It was really weird. Like, the studio changed their mind, went back and refilmed the ending. Now, and it technically makes this version, if you actually think about it, this version of the ending of this film technically doesn't make total sense. What happens at the end of this film, and it's kind of obvious where there's some cuts where they've cut it between what was originally there and how it should have been.
like in certain scenes and stuff like that. So LL Cool J's role, for instance, the dude's literally just got fucking bitten all over.
Yeah.
In one scene, he's barely even capable of moving.
Yeah.
His legs have been tore, and then suddenly he manages to help to save the day at the very end by coming back up. And it's like, yeah, you can see where they've pushed it that way, but it makes no realistic sense that he's able to go anywhere, because
he gets grabbed when they're coming up, don't they?
Yeah.
So I wonder whether that's when his character was originally supposed to die.
Yeah.
And then Thomas Jane and Saffron Burrows, how they would have killed the shark.
Well, he didn't die. He didn't actually die in any cut of the film.
No.
So he wasn't in the other version. He didn't die either. But the idea was, when you see him up there and he gets taken up, they take him up onto the thing after his legs have been, torn up, and he's been bitten around. When they take him up onto there, you see him and he's basically passed out.
Yeah.
That was it for his character. He wasn't going to be a thing because he's in no state to suddenly help save the day. So that's where they had to reshoot, where they had to be like, well, he needs someone to help him stop, the shark. And then at the very end, you have LL Cool J's character who's been there, and then you get this kind of singular shot where Thomas Jane is there and he's looking out at the water.
Yeah.
And that's still in the scene where he looks down at the water, which is more in in the final version of the film, is like he's looking out as if he's almost expecting maybe a shark to pop up. That's the point when she was meant to suddenly pop back up because she was alive.
Yeah.
She hadn't actually died. The shark had attacked her, but she hadn't died. So apparently that's where it went. So she went down there still to do that, but she actually survived, and she's actually the one that shot it in the end. So she kind of battles with it and manages to make it survive. But people at the test screening said that they didn't like the fact that she got to have a redeeming arc when she's the one that created the monster.
Yeah.
And they said that she wasn't a likable character, which I don't actually think is completely true. I think she's put into the bitch category far too easy.
I don't know. I kind of feel like she's not a particularly likable character, but I didn't find myself like hating her. It was the typical kind of like archetype of the scientist who went too far.
Yeah.
But had good intentions. You know, it's not like she's like a mustache twirling villain. You kind of understand why she did it, and you would be like, oh yeah, this could save millions of people. Like maybe bend the rules a little bit. Maybe fucking test on sharks. They're fine. Only sharks.
It is a weird one because it's one of those where it's like, in one way, I think in many ways, because of the redemption arc they somewhat tried to put her on, her suddenly dying makes a good shock kill.
Yeah.
Like a good, oh shit, I didn't get that. And then there are lots of people who are also like, but you've set up this whole story and then you've got this whole arc. Her suddenly dying really seems to just it feels really jarring and weirdly, and it does somewhat make the last little bit of the ending messy. Again, that's if you're really thinking about it. If you've taken it like most of the film where you're kind of switching off, then most people who probably watched it never really even thought about that and thought, she made the monster, she died.
Yeah.
But the death is very, quick, because they've just had to literally just reshoot that CGI to make it where she came into contact, but instead now it's CGI kill her.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, in reality, she would have dodged it and maybe fought it and managed to make it look like she died but didn't die, that kind of thing. But instead they just be like, right, where she's about to dodge, stop, and CGI, there we go.
It's very quick, isn't it?
And it, the whole the little part of implied romance between her and Thomas Jane is just kind of fuck it, fuck all the character plot and development.
He would have romance with LL Cool J.
I'm not totally against it at the same time though, because I remember always being like, oh shit, it's a shock death, and it's kind of works as a shock death.
Yeah,
as a whole story, mine maybe doesn't make total sense.
No, they could have gone maybe other ways, and maybe the way in which the quickness of it does make it feel like a reshoot. Yeah, it definitely. But it does have that shock of you didn't expect it. You expect maybe her to actually get out, but instead it's gobbled up. Yeah, gobbled up, gone. Yeah, so it's a weird, and I can see why both people, but I can also see why a lot of people are like, well, if you filmed it, then why the hell couldn't you just at least release it? So people can at least see what it was. A lot of people seem to think that people would look negative on it because they said that a lot of people say
whoever did the test screening that day were just assholes. And literally, and there have been people come out of the time being like, no, the original one was better. I don't know why people were. I don't know what the fuck the majority of that audience were thinking, but yeah, like it's not like, even though it happened like a lot in Hollywood, they pick up this thing, but it's not very common that they basically reshoot a film purely because people just don't like one character's ending.
Usually it's a load of it.
It's normally like, this makes no sense in the final act, or there's lots of problems here, or oh shit, what the hell is this? That's not funny, or that's not a good action scene. That's shit. We need to redo like a majority, not just like, oh yeah, we're gonna have to refilm for a couple of days because we literally just to kill a character. It's one of the few times I think they've ever done that in film history, of where it's like, we're literally reshooting to kill off your character. That must have felt pretty shit for Saffron Burrows. That must have felt pretty shit to be like, people hated you so much, we need to kill you.
Like, what?
We don't need you to come back to do anything because we're just going to CGI you being eaten. So
So yeah, don't worry about it. But I just want people to know.
But LL Cool J and Thomas Jane, you know the actress you've worked with, you know, you might have liked. Yeah, we're bringing you back because we're going to kill her.
Yeah, so you can watch her.
Yeah. So it's kind of a bit. It's a bit of a like. It sounds like a bit of a shit situation.
Yeah, I could
for
imagine.
the actress at least. You know?
Yeah.
Especially as I can't majorly say I've seen her in loads of things since about the 90s.
I mean, what else is she in?
Let's have a little quick look at. I do recognise her from several films.
I feel like I vaguely recognise
her. But yeah, she was in those ones. But I'm just wondering how many she was majorly in after that point. I mean, she's worked consistently through the years, kind of thing. But I just can't pick out major big films here. She was in Troy.
Oh yeah, she was.
Brad Pitt. She was a version of Wendy Darling and Peter Pan, and
she was in She was in Baghead, which was a recent film. Yeah. But I don't know what she was in.
Bank Job. So I was going to say I have still seen her pop up, but not in not some like as like a part character or side character and things like that, but not so much in at that point in time where she felt like I think she was being pushed more as like a lead.
Well, I think she's on the poster for Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah,
and I know if you're on Letterboxd, she's at the top. She was above Thomas Jane, LL Cool J, then Samuel Jackson.
Well, she is like the first character after the boat scene. She's the first character you see in the film.
Yeah,
and she is the one that's leading a lot of those scenes, and she's always there between like Samuel Jackson, Thomas Jane, and her are always there together.
Yeah.
So
there's also an
fair play in a film with with Samuel Jackson to still be the one to get like the main. The main focus kind of quite often, but her. I think she's a bit of a, maybe we were too harsh on you.
Yeah, maybe
for many people. I think people always remember her as a pure 100% like that was an absolute bitch.
I seem to remember people like treating her a lot worse when it came out.
Yeah,
whereas I've never particularly felt that she was horrendous.
No,
she was never like a foil. She was just like a...
No, and I'm also not saying that she's an absolutely incredible, well-established character. She's not fleshed out, sadly, quite enough to make her that either. She still comes across like they are still trying to sell her a little bit. That's the problem. There's like part of the film when it feels like they're trying to sell her as the bitchy character, and then they start to make her like a more redeeming character.
Yeah.
And it's things like that. Again, no idea. Maybe they went back and tweaked a little bit early in the film to make her seem a bit more bitchier so that you don't feel so jarring when she's suddenly killed off.
Maybe. I mean, have you seen any of the sequels?
I have not. This is another one. It's weird because this technically is a kind of a contained film idea. You have the sharks, they're destroyed, one person made them kind of thing. So I can understand where they come from. But this film was a hit, so I'm almost surprised they didn't make an actual... The studios didn't try to make a proper oh crap, one of the genius sharks got away.
Well, it teases it. Because because when they blow up the shark, which always happens, they say are you sure it was 3 sharks? And he's like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Which does leave it to be maybe if this makes enough money, there was another shark.
And I think this one it did do fairly well. So I was just surprised that they didn't try to make a proper cinema, because all the other ones are just straight to DVD or whatever.
I've seen the third one randomly, but the second one is literally sounds like it's just a remake. So according to Letterboxd,
I mean, it was a long that's what I mean. 2018. to make to make another one. Going 19 years later.
Well, I hope people forgot, because it literally says, when shark conservationist Dr. Misty Calhoun is invited to consult on a top secret project run by pharmaceutical billionaire Carl Durant, she is shocked to learn that the company is using unpredictable and highly aggressive bull sharks as its test subject, which soon break loose and cause havoc. So it kind of literally sounds so similar.
Well, I guess it kind of, again, it sounds like that kind of direct-to-DVD or sci-fi channel, whatever you call it, where they've done a kind of a reboot kind of thing in their own way to make one, instead of trying to link it to quite a mainly contained kind of first film. It's interesting, including the two songs that LL Cool J
he did two. I know he did one. The credit scene,
Deepest Bluest,
my head is like a shark's fin,
and Say What is also on it. If you listen, it was in the credit. If you listen in the credits, like a couple of songs in, and then there's literally there was another song by LL Cool J in there. Two songs. We got two songs from Mr. Cool J.
That's worth the price of admission, I'm sure.
I mean, there are so many so many actors that were before they were mainly like Stellan Skarsgård or even before, like Samuel Jackson kind of had a bit of a he's always been there, but he wasn't like that Samuel. That's the big Samuel. What I mean? That's the big
that's
cinema, the well known kind of one. But this film is just so fun.
It is so much fun.
It just is it takes you in, and I hadn't seen it in a long time, so I thought coming into this, I'm not gonna lie, after rewatching certain ones recently or rewatching Creature Features, I was half expecting it to be like, this is going to be another disappointment, isn't it? It's going to be overly long, or it's going to be too chatty, or it's going to it's going to just be lacking, or it's going to look really shit in ways I forgot it ever looked shit. But no, this is really enjoyable. I think all the characters, all the actors, it has some really fun. It has some huge big set pieces. Yeah. When the whole thing blows up, when the what is it, Ada Totoro, her character, I forget it. I was like, the helicopter goes in, and then she gets blown up in the tower, and I was like, this is a really cool set piece.
Yeah, it's super fun, man.
The designs of all of the things. This is what I think. I think the scale of the production brings this up a level. Yeah. Where it's hard not to look at it and go like that. This is like bringing the idea of Jaws into something like the Poseidon Adventure. Yeah. That whole the water, the explosions, we need to make it from room to room. It adds that extra element where you're basically element that is not only could the building kill them, but there's also these intelligent sharks that are trying to kill them at the same time. So there's a million threats and a million things. It brings the fun of that kind of survival adventure film, like the Poseidon Adventure that I just said, and then it kind of adds in the teeth of Jaws.
Yeah, and it feels like a massive blockbuster.
Yeah, it does.
For because like you said, massive set pieces, but also great cast, shot really well. Good soundtrack, excluding the LL Cool J songs, but also it really knows what it's going for, and I feel like the use of the animatronics and the sharks, it feels so well. It doesn't feel like other Creature Features where you don't really get a whole lot of the creature. Yeah. Like it feels like it knows, like you said, Renny Harlin knew what Jaws was about, and he doesn't want to make a film opposite to it. But the sharks feel very much like front and centre of the film, without it kind of going into that very cheap, just one person dying after the next. Yeah, it always feels like there's some kind of some obstacle that they have to overcome. Yeah, and the sharks aren't necessarily the only danger. Like they're trying to move before the thing gets submerged in water and they drown. They can't take their time because the fucking sharks are coming through, and as it gets more flooded with water, the sharks have more domain. It's a super cool idea.
It is. It's really well done. Those set pieces, I just think, are really clever. The suspense that is built in each of those pieces, from the kitchen to the climbing up the burning tower. All of those parts, you're just there like, holy shit. But it adds this huge element to the film that just makes it so much more than just that standard we're in a small town that's kind of being slowly invaded, or what are by creatures or things like that. It makes it a step up in terms of ones. They don't really make films quite like this anymore. I'll admit, something like, to be fair, what was it? The Jason Statham, the Meg and stuff like that. I remember the first one having quite a lot of fun with that one in the cinema. It had a similar feeling of this, where it felt like a bigger budget, but it also felt like it had a bit of fun with it. It knew what it was and it went for it, kind of thing. Yeah. Less so with this. I think I watched the sequel and didn't enjoy it.
Sequel was ass, if I remember.
Yeah. it seemed to not understand what was fun about the first one. Yeah. And it started to feel a bit more like Piranha films or things like that, like the Piranha 3D.
I just remember there not being much Meg in it. It was like a strange action film where all of a sudden, like the gunning like people down on oil rigs and stuff like that, and I was like, where's the sharks?
Yeah, what's going on?
You do have Megs in your Meg film, right?
In this Meg film, so no, it really, I think we're both very happy with this one.
Yeah, we are.
And it's probably, it's hard though, because we're doing creature feature seasons, and of all the films we're doing, and yes, it's hard to live up to a film like Jaws is on a different kind of level in a different way.
It's like the Holy Grail.
But in terms of these, these mainly 90s and 2000s are mainly our domain of the era of these films. But this one, again, feels like a step above most of those ones, where some of them are good and sort of thing, but this one kind of felt like a different level where they got a big budget and got to kind of really have fun with it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of ending it, to be honest.
Bring it to a close.
Yeah. So come and let us know your thoughts on Deep Blue Sea, whether it's hashtag Deep Blue Sea or whether it's hashtag filled with pee. It didn't work either. I'll get one day. I will think of a genius one, and then I'll retire when I'm at the top of my game. But until then, I'll just keep practicing.
If you didn't think about it, maybe like the second that we started doing it. If we actually planned anything in this podcast, then we might come up with some really brilliant lines, but
where's
we
the
don't.
Fun? Where's the fun?
It's off the cuff.
It's off the cuff. Come and let us know your thoughts on Deep Blue Sea. You can find us at Twitter and podcast. What the
Instagram.
fuck? You can find us on Twitter. It's late. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at CMTH Podcast. Remember to hit that subscribe button and please leave us a lovely review. And as always, play us out, boys.